Storage Rebels, good morning. Mike Wagner here with the Storage Rebellion checking in, and I want to give a shout out to Ron Berger. He is responsible for this video. Hopefully, you guys find it valuable. He had just sent me a couple questions asking about construction, new construction and storage, and whether or not I had any experience there and could give some tips and pointers and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to do in this video while I enjoy my all-important coffee this fine Friday morning. Here's the bottom line. I'm not opposed to ground up construction or new storage development, but it is not my first, my I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's not my first choice, I guess. And the reason is because when you do ground up construction, you're kind of swinging for the fences. You've got to do a whole bunch of earthwork, and you've got no cash flow to start with, and those two things kind of combine to create this critical mass that you have to get to, whether it's 15,000 or 20,000 square feet, depending on the market. Bottom line is you can't phase your development all that well, because if we think about it, if you spend let's say 50 or 100 grand on land, and then 100 or 200 grand on moving earth around and getting your base down and your parking lots and those sorts of things, you can't just put up a 5,000 square foot building and think the property is going to support itself once you get full, right? You've got to put up your 15 or 20,000 square feet just so that it makes sense once you get to stabilized occupancy levels. So for that reason, I think it's more of a big swing, and I like to swing for a double and try to steal third if I can. And that's why I do the purchase existing undervalued properties that have the potential for expansion. So you still get the option to do development, but you can do it down the road, and you can do it in a more phased approach. You also have existing cash flow to fund the expansion rather than having to feed the alligator. So for those reasons, I've kind of designed my strategy toward what you guys know that I do, and that's buying existing value-add properties and then expanding thereafter. All that being said, I did want to share with Ron, as well as the rest of you, that there are certain things that I've learned in the expansion process. I mean, we've built over 40,000 square feet of new storage, so it's as much as a ground-up development. It's just been spread out between a couple different properties, and spread out over time as well. So I guess I'll talk first about the company that I use to provide us our buildings, and that is Trachete, Trachete. They've been great to work with. If I'm being honest, the reason I chose them is because I've got a guy who's a whole lot smarter than me in the construction fields, and he's also in storage. He's for my local properties. He builds my buildings for me. He constructs them, and he recommended I buy from Trachete. And of course, I did a little bit of vetting of that advice, and everything he told me was true. And that is, they're not the cheapest on the market, but they're very competitively priced. You might spend an extra $1,000 or $2,000 compared to some of the competitors, but for that, you're getting pretty darn good customer service, which is huge. They've been very flexible with me on providing building plans and construction documents in a timeline that other builders weren't really open to doing, and that is providing them with me upfront before I committed to buying the whole project, because I didn't want to buy the building if I couldn't get the approvals, and I needed the plans to get the approvals, right? So they've just been good to work with in that realm. The other really important thing is that from a construction standpoint, their buildings, anything 40 foot wide or shorter, is literally not going to have an exposed fastener, a screw that's open to the outside of the building anywhere. Not on the roof, not on the walls, which doesn't sound like a huge deal, right? What's a big deal? But if you've ever seen older storage buildings, those exposed fasteners on the roof are always what leaks. Over the time, 5, 10, 15 years, depending on the environment that you're in, the rubber washers they use to seal up the holes through the roof where the screws go dry out and rot, and then you're up there with roofing caulk and sealant to fix it every spring as you find these new holes. And on the sides of the buildings, while maybe not as critical, they become an eyesore because those are the areas that rust out. When a screw goes through metal, it chips off a little bit of paint and there's exposed edges. When water hits that, it rusts. And then over time, those rust lines, the dark brown lines, kind of drip down from the fasteners. I've got some older buildings that have that. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it certainly does detract from the curb appeal of a property. And so I really like Tracti. There are other ones out there. Betco is another big provider, which I looked into, and they've kind of, I think, taken a play from Tracti's playbook and are going toward that no exposed fasteners route. I haven't looked at them within the last couple years, though. The other thing I want to talk about is just making sure that you're building in a way that's appropriate for your market. You know, a beautiful property with fully paved driveways and entrance and all that stuff is great. But if you're spending, you know, $4 a square foot to pave 20, 30, 40,000 square feet of driveways in a facility, you're better be able to rent it at a price that justifies that. I think there's an ego component of all of us, myself included, that really wants that clean, paved driveway appearance. And what I caution you against is if you're in a rural or even a suburban market, it kind of that doesn't require that. I don't think it's necessary. What I love as kind of a happy medium is what's known as road millings. I use them as opposed to traditional gravel. And the reason is because they are recycled asphalt. When the construction crew comes through and the town redoes the main street, those road millings, the road, they grind it up and it becomes road millings. They put it in a truck and then they sell it. Sometimes they even give it away if you happen to be lucky enough. So it's very affordable, and it's better than gravel in that there's a whole lot less dust, and because it's recycled asphalt, it retains some of that ability to congeal. So once you lay it down, you can roll it, and literally from driving past, if you're driving past a facility with road millings, you've got to look really close to even know that it's not paved. It's not as good as pavement. Once you get up close and look at it, you're still going to get, potholes and that sort of thing that you need to fill now and again. But the bottom line is I found that to be the sweet spot between cost. It's actually cheaper than gravel and it's better than gravel. And it gives you some of the benefits of asphalt. When it congeals, it makes weeds harder to grow up. They get through gravel a whole lot easier than they do road millings. And also it's got that curb appeal, that dark, more black look, like traditional asphalt would. So those are the tips that come to mind. I didn't prepare too heavily for this video, so hopefully you find some of that valuable. If you have specific questions about construction, please pop them in the comments below, and I will certainly answer those for you. Also, take a play from Ron's playbook there, and if you have specific questions or videos you want to see, by all means, drop me a private message or drop them into the comments of any of our other videos, and I will be sure to cater this content to the questions you guys have. All right, that's it for now, guys. We will see you again real soon.